May 25, regular session, 9 a.m.
Michael came in as a thumbnail.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything on today, but I think he's just keeping track.
I'm ready to unmute if you are. Yeah, all right, that's fine. You're unmuted, Jeff, if you want.
I'm good. I'm good recording.
Okay, very good. All right, welcome this morning. We will call this regular session of Marion County Board of Supervisors to order. Roll call, Mr. Grandia.
Keisha Johnner.
Here.
Mark Ramey.
Here.
Steve McCombs. Here.
Very good. I would entertain a motion on this morning's agenda.
Make motion, we approve today's agenda.
Second. McCombs. Aye. Ramey.
Aye.
Johnner.
Aye.
Very good communications. Jake, we have a request from, I think it's from Tiffany. Tiffany, if you want to give me a little background on this proclamation.
So it's for Mental Health Awareness Month. May is Mental Health Awareness Month. So by signing this, you're just acknowledging Marion County and thank you. As a board, just acknowledging mental health awareness and spreading it throughout the county by signing this. So sums it up.
Okay. I mean, it's definitely been a large topic that we have talked about multiple years as a member of the Cross region. We're the largest funder of the Cross region, our taxpayers are. We're definitely involved. Now, we've had some changes with the new legislation, and we'll talk about that. Actually, I have a cross-board meeting today at 1, so we'll talk about that. But I think it's important to keep people aware of the services that we have and that mental health issues are real and need to be addressed proactively. So I appreciate you putting that in there.
Yes.
Jake, do we need to have a motion to?
I don't think so. I think
just
this
declare
is just declare it as the chair.
All right, then I will declare this Mental Health Awareness Month per the proclamation included in your packet and on the board. At least it was on the board. So,
Sorry, word.
all right.
Okay.
There you go. All right, and you can see it on the board there. So very good. Thank you.
Thank you, Tiffany.
Thanks, Tiffany.
Thank you.
Public comments is the portion of our meeting the public can speak on items not on this morning's agenda. The board cannot act on those items, but they could be topics for future Board of Supervisor meetings. Are there any public comments, items not listed on this morning's agenda? Excuse me. Very good. We'll move on. Entertain a motion on this morning's consent agenda.
Make motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second. Ramey.
Aye.
Johnner.
Aye.
McCombs. Aye.
All right, very good. All right, on to business. First item is a discussion item. We have some guests here, Greg Gray and Cody is it Fagans or Fagans?
Fagans.
Fagans, okay, very good. From Windstream, Connecticut. Which is it, Greg? We say
Both.
Both. We say both. All right. There was an article, I think it was on May 17th, where we had some individuals from Marion County, Pat Weiler, myself, were interviewed by a New York Times reporter on the need for broadband in rural counties and how important that is from both an economic development perspective, attracting new businesses for local residents, to stay engaged in a 21st century economy. And Pat had some comments in there, I had some comments in there, and that led to a request to come and talk this morning. So Greg, I'll turn it over to you and welcome this morning. You wanted to make some comments on Windstream and broadband and updates regarding that. So
Yes, sure, thank you very much. I think we're still trying to get hooked up to your main screen.
I'm having trouble joining the call
okay.
to share my screen.
would it be okay if we brought the screen up, his computer up, so we could turn around and show the board?
Sure, absolutely, absolutely. We'll do what we have to do to make it work.
Enough said.
Forward it to Renee.
What's that?
Enough said.
HDMI cable?
But then we're not gonna be able to share it.
While we're waiting here for that, before we come up front, just to give you a little background. First of all, my name is Greg Gray. I'm Director of Operations for Windstream, for Iowa and Minnesota. Cody Figgins is a local manager here, in Iowa. His office is up the road here. Basically, our background, just to give you a feel of what we do and what we've done in the past. I've been in business for 40+ years. I've worked as an installer repairman here in Marion County. I lived here for about 35 years. I now live in Des Moines. My kids moved up there, so I kind of moved with them. Cody Figgins lives here in Marion County. We have quite an extensive background in field technology. My boss, Brad Hedrick, I think he's communicated to you, set up the meeting, turned ill last night. Couldn't make it to the meeting. So basically, you're getting the B team. We're kind of he's Johnny Carson, I'm Ed McMahon, and we've got Doc Severance in here. But anyway, we're very versed.
Wow.
Very versed in the technological, deployment of high-speed broadband.
Yep, I just forwarded some screenshots over, so.
Okay, and I think we have
them pulled up.
a good story to share here. A little background on Windstream. We're deploying fiber as we speak today. We have 3 methods of technology which deploys high-speed internet. We've been doing high-speed data since back in the 80s. And as it grows, broadband grows, more and more demand. We upgrade our network from time to time. We have over 300 exchanges in Iowa in Iowa itself, that we deploy high-speed broadband. And we are moving forward with the fiber to the prem technology. Today we use 3 methods. We use copper, we use fixed wireless, and obviously fiber to the prem. If we could get these, she's working on pulling that up.
Yep.
Okay, that's a little bit of background on us. Is there any questions before we?
Well, I think, in general, Greg, just to the context of Brad's call with me was related to that article that came out. And it was, I think, a very well-written article. There was no bias one way or the other. It was just talking about the need for rural broadband expansion. And really the genuine question was, is it necessary? How necessary is it for a rural economy to compete? I mean, that's the genesis of the question. And I don't want to speak for Pat and the folks at Weiler who were interviewed as well, and they had a bigger chunk of the article than I did. Because I spoke from a broader standpoint about attracting new businesses. We've got our economic development person here this morning. We're going to be talking to her in a little bit, but one of the struggles we have is job growth. And without widespread, reliable broadband, 5G, whatever the phrase you want to put around it, it's going to be tough for us to attract 21st century businesses. We're a heavily manufacturing-oriented county. That's good when times are good. That's not so good when times aren't so good, because you're so heavily weighted to that one sector. So we definitely want to broaden our economic base, and we see broadband as a key contributor to that. So maybe if you could speak to that piece, Greg, because that's the piece that's most critical to me. I mean, you can talk about the details around broadband and what you use for wire, and I'm a lawyer, you're going to lose me on that. But where are we at in Marion County getting broadband in a more widespread, distributed way to our residents? How effective because you're one of the predominant providers in Marion County, especially on this side of the river. I don't know about Pella. I know they've got their own fiber now and their own fiber network and those things. And that seems to be a trend, because I know Mahaska's doing it too. So there seems to be a little bit of a push to say, we're not getting it from the traditional providers, so we're going to do something else. So maybe speak to that point, and how is Windstream Kinetic going to deal with that for counties like Marion County?
Yeah, and that's, we do have some heat maps that show the penetration and the speeds across Marion County. If we can get that map pulled up, and it also shows our wireless network, and it actually shows the speeds in pockets so we can get across Windstream. If we can get that pulled up on the screen or.
How we doing?
Getting closer.
We're getting closer.
Okay.
Or log into your webmail if it's not coming through online. Okay.
I think you had that map in that email you sent to us, didn't you? That coverage.
That was one of them, correct.
Hey Greg, I will ask you guys, so how many states is Windstream in?
Right around 30.
They are in 30, okay, all right. So the governor, you know, I don't know if you read recently what she just stated within the last few hours. She stated that Iowa is the second slowest broadband speed in the nation. Where do you feel, you know, obviously we look at the rural, the unincorporated as the county, we're trying to promote growth in those areas. We want our cities to grow too. And Knoxville and Pella have been, you know, you guys have services there, you know, as Mark spoke about what Pella is doing. And I spoke to Carla, our economic development person. This is probably something that I get spoke to about weekly, about services and, you know. So where do you feel that we are at when Windstream, where do you place us? Because, you know, it's rural Marion, you know, we're rural. This is what the governor's talking about. Out of those 30 states, where do you think Windstream places us?
Well, I know that in Iowa, we're doing 50 exchanges, somewhere in that neighborhood, fiber to the prim. We're doing these in phases. We're doing the aerial piece first, and then we'll go back and do the buried piece later. We've already started in Knoxville, the aerial pieces of Knoxville, which would be the majority of the downtown area. I think majority of those customers, and Cody can chime in here, do have fiber to the prim available at this time. We give them gig and plus services.
Okay, all right.
Now, what are we doing for the rural? We have fixed wireless towers. Now, obviously, bearing fiber out to a customer that's 10 miles from Knoxville, very expensive. So what we've done is we've placed 12 fixed wireless towers in Marion County to serve those customers. And correct me if I'm wrong here, I think we can get up to 200 meg for those customers in the rural.
Are those towers Windstream standalone towers, or are you renting a tower space off of someone else?
I believe in Marion County, they're all standalone towers.
And that's line of sight, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so those that can see it, but if you can't see it, that becomes a problem, correct?
Yes. We do have a newer fixed wireless technology that's in the testing phase right now that has a wider band that should go over hills and around trees and over trees. That should be able, we should be able to reach a lot more customers with that. But
Cody, is that something that the individual in their house, they have to have something that would receive that bandwidth?
Yes.
So that's part of the package deal that when you.
Yep, so we place a wireless radio somewhere, either on their house, or we have several customers that set poles. Like if they have a tree line and they can set a pole a little bit away from their house to get around the tree line, that we can mount our wireless radio on, then they're able to see the tower.
So, yeah, that's my question now. There's some physical things that have to happen
Yes.
in order to, okay, if you're in a problem area.
Can you hit your computer and move the screens here?
Yeah, so, yeah, elevation wise, it's affected by elevation and tree lines, obviously. But if you see the dark green dots, those are over 25 meg up to a gig speeds right now. The light green dots, those are above 10 meg. And The orange dots are the 3 meg range. The red dots are most likely customers that cannot get a fixed line of sight for our fixed wireless towers, so they're
Dark green is good, red is bad.
right.
So dark green is how fast?
Up to a gig, no less than 25 meg.
Okay.
And FCC is 25 is what they're recommending is an adequate speed.
Right.
Correct.
If a person,
Yeah, I can't.
I'm just looking at my screens out there.
Maybe you can use your.
I know I don't have 25 meg, so
Move that to the next screen.
I'm lucky to get 12
Take mine.
or less.
It'd be easier if you just, we're doing too many things with this computer, if you could just tell us which screen of the four you want.
So there's the map.
Yeah.
And again, bear with us, Brad had this all presentation all lined up and ready to go, and last minute he came in sick, so.
I know you can't give me an exact number, but if a person so chose to get hooked up to whatever service you provide, what's a basic average cost to that individual? I mean, just rough. I know you can't nail it down.
Yeah, it depends on the area, but probably $40 to $60 range for anywhere from 100 meg to a gig,
40 to 50 a month.
somewhere in that neighborhood. If you're really interested in pricing, we can have somebody contact you.
Well, I just know the question's gonna get asked, so I'm
Sure.
just trying to figure it out.
So there's our fiber in Marion County. All the red dotted lines is fiber.
All the blue is also fiber, it's aerial fiber, so.
And as you can see, we have multiple routes into these exchanges. Two reasons there. Main reason is for connectivity and backbone and redundancy. If one fiber's cut, routes to the other one.
So could you explain to us, when you say this is fiber, but is this fiber that I can get at my house?
This would be fiber to connecting to exchanges. Now, if you zoom in on that, you can see exactly where the fiber is in the exchanges.
So some of this fiber would feed fixed wireless towers. A lot of it feeds remotes that we have placed further out in the rural areas, so we can feed some of the rural customers higher speeds that are fiber fed, that we feed with copper, but the remote's fed with fiber, so
So red's fiber, blue's copper, or what?
that's all fiber.
That's all fiber?
One's buried, one's aerial.
Oh, okay, that's the difference in the color scheme?
Yep.
Yep. And it really doesn't show, you can't zoom in far enough today in this presentation, but it is all over Marion County and also in Knoxville itself, in the aerial part of town, so. Fixed wireless, maybe you can move on to that screen and show you how we're connecting to the,
I have a question on this though.
go ahead.
And regarding that, how do you do a business that wants the fiber? I mean, you have it going to the central offices,
Yep.
but they want to connect to it. How does that even become?
We have an engineering group, anywhere in Marion County, if they want fiber, and they call our engineering group, they'll figure out how to get fiber to that business.
So, but even though, Greg, and I'm sure you're getting these same questions that I am. These people want, they see it's a competition thing. They're, other businesses are offering it. I put this comparable to like water. So where I live, I had to bring water to my house. So I connected. I had to pay for that. So is there an opportunity to be able to even connect to it and pay for it?
Yes, and I think the perfect example is, I believe, Weiler's, they have fiber to their building. We did put fiber all the way into their building. And turn them up. I'm not sure what speeds they're on, but.
But I'm talking customers. I'm just talking you and I, or our homes. They're wanting service, and they're wanting not 10 meg. They're wanting at least 50. How do we go about doing that? Because if we want water, we pay for it. But I mean, it's the same thing. That's what I'm at. That's the clarity, I guess.
Now, as we move through this project, more and more fiber is being deployed. So we've probably got guys that are, customers are being turned up on fiber in your exchange today. If you were to call in, it depends on where you live, what bandwidth you can get. And the majority, if you see, you can get up to 100 meg in the Knoxville area. Pella's the same way. Can they get
One
fiber?
gig in Knoxville. If you qualify for fiber, you can get a gig in Knoxville.
Yeah, but most customers
Pella.
can get up to 100 meg, which is specific bandwidth for today's, modern use. Fiber to the premise coming, it's a huge, capital cost to put it to every subscriber we have in Iowa, especially in Marion County, as rural as we are, but we are getting there. I guess that's the message we want to deliver, that we're not taking this lightly, and we are trying to satisfy the need, because we know broadband is not going to slow down. Especially during this pandemic, it really hit us hard. We had orders coming from everywhere. We didn't have enough people to get all the service orders completed at that time. And we are moving forward and deploying fiber everywhere. It's just going to take some time. Now, back to your question on the government, yes, our main leadership has been in contact with the governor on how much money there's going to be available, to companies like us to deploy, services clear out in the rural. And I think there's going to be some dollars. I think there's going to be some state dollars coming soon. We would love to partner with anybody who has those dollars to do exactly what you're saying, to meet the need of these customers out in the fields.
Because those towns are receiving it, it's just the rural areas, the unincorporated,
Right.
those that are living in the gravel road that are, that want to. I have a business right by my home, and he complains quite often to me, saying, I can't get any internet, this is terrible. And I understand his frustration, because I can barely get 10 meg at home. And so that has become an everyday use that we need, especially when doing with Zoom. If you have internet TV at all, you can't hardly run a Zoom, an internet TV, your child has their cell phone on 10 meg. And so
25 meg is a standard, pretty low standard at this point. You're going to see probably that get raised in the near future. But yes, we understand there's a need. We're trying to deploy as much broadband, high-speed internet on fiber as we can. That's the way of the future. But we did, like I said, we have added, and if you look at the map up here, or your screen, all the blue dots are where we've actually added fixed wireless towers to hit those rural customers. And they can get up to 200 meg out of the rural off of those towers. Now, is there some limitations? Yes. As you know, when you put a house out in the middle of nowhere, what's the first thing you do? You put up trees to block the wind. Well, that cuts down on your line of sight. So then we have to figure out how we're going to get that line of sight for that customer. And a lot of times they'll put trees, they'll put up poles to get that line of sight, to get that 200 meg. So, but we are getting there. This is kind of a Band-Aid, in my opinion, until we get fiber buried to all these customers. But it does work well. We've had very few issues with the fixed wireless product and our fiber. Once we turn our fiber in, we get rid of the old copper. We take their phone line, if they still have a landline, we can move it over to fiber.
I think the terrain of Marion County in itself would pose some challenges. Obviously, northern Marion County is a lot easier to do than southern Marion County because of terrain.
It is.
Good. Very good. Well, gentlemen, anything else, any other reason for our slides?
The green areas in Pella, Knoxville, Pleasantville, those are the areas where we have fiber now. So that's our phase 1 build. Anybody in those green polygons can get up to a gig. So we're just expanding from there. That's our main backbone, and we'll be expanding from there. So.
And as you can see, as we get more dollars, we do invest more capital. As you can read online how much money Windstream is putting in their broadband, it's billions of dollars every, for the next 5 years. So you're going to see this really grow. Now, if there's a specific need for a business or a customer, you have my cards. Feel free to reach out to me, or even a regular customer, have them reach out to me. We've talked to the city mayor in that department and gave them the same information. We are building our network. And if you have any questions, especially if you have any issues, feel free to reach out and give me a call. We're very versed in the community here. We're embedded in the community. We're the hometown provider, and we want to do the best we can do for your constituents and our customers.
Well, we appreciate your time, gentlemen. Thank you for
I got
coming.
one more.
Oh, Steve, go ahead. Sorry.
Your blue dots are your towers, are they physically connected
By fiber.
by fiber? So they're not a site, a line of sight to another tower that you're feeding that tower?
We do have a few of those, but the majority of those are fiber fed.
Okay,
Yeah, all the main towers are fiber fed, and then there's line of sight to like one or
okay,
two towers from there, but
okay.
that doesn't limit the speed in any way.
Very good. Gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Definitely a topic we'll probably discuss more. So, thank you. With that, would entertain a motion to close discussion on this item.
Make motion to close discussion.
Second.
Johnner,
Aye.
McCombs,
Aye.
Ramey.
Aye, very good. Thank you. Next, we have a special event application, Ministers Association Every Step Hospice Flag Day Program. Is there anybody speaking to that?
Probably not. Brent Hanna is the one that dropped it
I was
off.
gonna say,
He was the one that, pretty traditional over the last few years. So, to use the bandstand for just a short amount of time. I distributed this to everybody that we distribute this application to and didn't hear anything negative back from anybody. I don't think they're asking to use much of anything other than the bandstand for a
Just the
little bit
bandstand.
still.
yeah, I don't have,
It's, it was, yeah, presented by Brent Hanna.
right, very good. Steve, Keisha,
I don't have any problems with it.
No, I don't have a problem.
very good. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve the special event Flag Day program.
Second.
McCombs,
Aye.
Ramey,
Aye.
Johnner.
Aye.
Next, we have resolution 2021-33, homestead tax credit applications for fiscal year 21. Jake?
Yeah, so, I guess this one is mine, and the next several items are all basically related to the tax credit process. You can see we have, homestead tax credits, business property tax credit, and family farm tax credit applications, all these next. So if you don't mind, I'll just kind of speak through all of those,
Sure.
if that's okay, and if you have any
Absolutely.
specific questions. I
Absolutely.
did, we do request a individual resolution for each year's worth. That's why we did them individually on the agenda. But in essence, we are catching up just a little bit to current year and then getting back on track for the next cycle of tax credits. We're not presenting any applications recommended to be denied. It's a process that all applications come in through the assessor's office. They're processed with lists of, recommend to approve or deny, and they do a great job of working with folks on giving the parameters of, you have to own a house to sign up for homestead and things like that,
Is that a year, do you have to do that yearly? I'm just asking for, or once you sign up for homestead or whatever, is that carry through?
All three of these tax credits are, once you sign up and it is applicable, it maintains until you sell your home or there's a change in the property.
Cause I've been asked that
Right.
question and I thought it would carry through.
Yes, they carry through. Marion County's blessed to have a lot of movement, so, people buy and sell homes and stuff. You do need to sign up if you move to a new residence. With family farm, sometimes that gets a little bit more tricky because folks still own the land but then stop actively participating in it and rent it out. When that happens, then by rights, they should come and let us know, and then the family farm would go away. The county may not know that when that happens, but it does stay on. So what happens in general is there's time periods. Some of this is a little bit, the application period has to be far enough ahead to get processes done, to get taxes written, by July, to get them out to taxpayers for the September payments and the March payments. So the deadlines for, as you can see, for the fiscal 21 taxes, the deadline to register or to apply was actually 18/19. So it seems like it's a little bit behind, but that's kind of how taxes all those processes work. So individuals sign up through the assessor's office, they process. When it's time, it rolls to me, to you guys for overall authorization. Those get applied to the taxes that are written. Then when the taxes get transferred to the treasurer's office for collections, these credits are, you see them on your tax statement, like if your tax bill was $100, I'm using these as numbers, the homestead credit is 25, then
Right.
your tax bill is 75. The treasurer's office then sends requests to the state, and it's all assisted by our software as well. And the state supplies that credit money back to us. So when you guys look at your budgets, you see how much tax dollars are going to be collected. This money is included in that because the tax bill was $100. Your whole, it's just the individual taxpayer had paid 75, and the tax credits coming back from the state paid the 25.
So
That's basically the process.
So just to be clear, Jake, so everybody knows, this is a yearly process, it's basically a catch-up for any changes.
Yeah, these are all the new applications. The catch-up portion was 2020 kind of hit us.
Right.
And I didn't get these processed through quite as quickly as I normally would, so I'm catching up. We're catching up for that and then working ahead for the 22 taxes that will be written this July. Keisha did ask a question the other day about the funding level from the state. So all three of these credits, before taxes are written, the state certifies if they're gonna pay 100% of the tax credit or 90% or 75. So for quite some years now, these have all been funded at 100%. In my time here, I can remember one of these or a couple of these, never family farm, but maybe homestead being funded at 90% or something like that. If the counties, and it wouldn't just be us, it would be the whole state, they would do that. If the state says they're gonna do that with the mathematical formula that they use, the county then just passes on 90% of what's applicable onto the taxpayer, and then the difference is paid by the taxpayer.
Very good.
So we're presenting these with lists individually for homestead, for business property tax, and family farm.
Very good. Any questions, Steve, Keisha, on any of these? We're gonna take these in order and.
No.
All right. Very good. Jake, thank you for that explanation. Appreciate it.
And it is quite an effort with the assessor's office and treasurer's office to make this all flow. So I know Michaela was busy this morning, and I just wanted to acknowledge that as well.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Very good. Is there a motion on resolution 2021-33?
Motion to approve resolution 2021-33.
Second?
Ramey?
Aye.
Johnner?
Aye.
McCombs?
Aye.
Very good. Is there a motion? This is for FY 22 homestead tax credit applications.
Make a motion to approve resolution 2021-34.
Second.
Johnner?
Aye.
McCombs?
Aye.
Ramey?
Aye. Next is 2021-37 business property tax credit applications for FY 21. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve resolution 2021-37.
Second?
McCombs?
Aye.
Ramey?
Aye.
Johnner?
Aye.
Next is resolution 2021-38 property tax credit applications for businesses for FY 22.
Move to approve resolution 2021-38.
Second.
Ramey?
Aye.
Johnner?
Aye.
McCombs?
Aye.
Very good. Next is 2021-42, which is family farm tax credit applications for FY 21. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve resolution 2021-42.
Second?
Johnner?
Aye.
McCombs?
Aye.
Ramey?
Aye. Very good. And then resolution 2021-43, which is family farm tax credit applications for FY 22.
I move we approve resolution 2021-43.
Second.
McCombs?
Aye.
Ramey?
Aye.
Johnner?
Aye.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. Next, we have a tobacco license renewal for Keener Oil Company. Is it two of them, Jake?
It is two.
And New Star and Pelham?
Yeah, I went ahead and put both of these. So again, I don't think anybody's here from either one of
Okay.
these companies. Something that processes through my office, the tobacco license renewal applications for each year. This would be for retail sales. I send a letter out, it's like a 70-day letter or something like that, notice to any individuals that have active tobacco licenses out basically in the townships. This is for any businesses that are in the unincorporated areas. If they're within the city takes care of it.
Sure.
So we have two. Keener Oil and New Star over in Pella. I sent them a form. The form is actually through the Alcoholic Beverages Division. It's a $50 fee if they return it, which both of these individuals did in plenty of time for their 7/1 renewal. They filled out the proper paperwork. They sent in the $50 permit. I forward to all interested parties that I think, the sheriff's office, attorney's office, anything like that, for comment, have received none back. So from an administrative standpoint, both of these businesses have satisfied everything to renew their tobacco license for another year.
Okay, very good. Just to double check, Jason, you don't have any issues with this?
No, it's obviously something we are continuing to keep an eye on, but at this point, there's nothing to prohibit their application.
All right, very good, thank you. Board, any questions on any of these applications?
Nope.
Okay. Seeing no objections, is there a motion on these 2 tobacco license renewal apps?
So moved.
Second.
Motion to approve.
So we had McCombs,
Yep,
John, okay, very good. And it was to approve.
it was to approve. Or it was just to move something.
I'm trying to simplify it.
All right, Ramey,
Aye,
Johnner,
Aye.
McCombs.
All right,
very good, thank you. Next, we have a Class C liquor license application for outdoor service, Sunday sales. It's a renewal app from Wacko's.
I'm afraid this one might be mine again, sorry.
Jamie just
Yeah.
started it.
I get all the
Tell
fun
you
stuff,
what.
fun stuff today. I don't know if AJ's online or not. AJ has been working on this application and renewal, has done everything he needed to do as well. Alcoholic Beverages just very recently switched over a website into a new ELAP, they call it ELAP system, and for renewals. And so it's been good and challenging also to get everything done through this new e-licensing application for everybody from the cities and all the applicants. But between the 2 of us, he got this fulfilled in time and got done, and everything is in order administratively for this renewal for Wacko's. So I don't know if he's on or not, but
Yeah.
he had done everything he needed to. So,
No.
that's fine.
Very
And with alcohol, it goes through Alcoholic Beverages.
Right.
We don't receive word until Dram Shop is done and all that stuff, and they pay directly to Alcoholic Beverages. They don't pay
Right, very
us
good.
like this. And then if there's any feedback to us, it comes at a later date.
Jason, any issues with you?
No, it's no problem on my end.
Okay, very good, thank you. Board, any questions? Okay. With that, I would entertain a motion on this item.
I move to approve.
I'll second.
See, Steve's going beyond just moving. Now. He's now moving to actually do something. I like it.
I agree. I appreciate that. All right, Johnner,
Aye.
McCombs,
aye.
Ramey.
Aye, very good, thank you. Very good. All right, next we have annual evaluation of Marion County Economic Development Director, Carl Ising. She did not ask for a closed hearing, so I'm gonna do this in the light of day. Carla.
I think transparency is always good.
Good, good.
I believe in that, so.
Good, thank you.
Here's one for you, Jake.
Oh, thank you.
I just kind of worked up a short kind of overview after some of the comments from the budget session. And I do have with me today my commission chair, David Vollmer, is here as well.
David, how you doing? You good?
In your packet, you will have the written annual business report. I don't believe I shared that with you when we had our last local government meeting, as well as our action plan for the next fiscal year for the Development Commission. The packet that has my name on the front of it, you'll see some of my background as far as certifications and technology, as well as the organizations that we connect with on a regional and state basis fairly regularly, kind of the framework for our scope of work, And then you'll see in 2021, the new initiatives that we have taken on with, I won't read all through all those, but several different, very exciting, the newest of which is the iWin, which is focused on workforce recruitment with Cirrus at Iowa State University. We did get selected for that, so that is at no cost to us. So that's a very exciting initiative that our employers were requesting us become involved in and do, and so we did, and so that's just going to kick off in June. The rest of those I think you're fairly familiar with or we've discussed. And the next slide on the bottom is just some of our existing programs that we do on an annual basis. One of the questions you had at the budget meeting was to set benchmarks for how this position and what our work can be evaluated. What I did is try to go through those initiatives that were the major initiatives and identify some of the benchmarks, some of the things that we will be setting forth in the next year. We are in a state right now of on the verge of completing many planning processes. We've got broadband, we've got EDD, we've got the targeted industry, this iWin. We're on the verge of completing a lot of things that will then next year move us into more of an implementation phase. So as this summer, many of those things are completed as far as planning, studying, those kinds of things, then next year, most of those will move into a more implementation phase. And so with all those different studies, tried to identify some benchmarks. We were very excited. We've had several of our companies participate in our webinars for our economic gardening pilot. That will kick off. The application deadline for that is June 4th. And excited to help 2 companies this year and hopefully continue that program with our stage 2 growth companies. The website was involved in the county website, but we kicked off working on the economic development site last week with the hope of getting that done sometime July, early August, and then converting over the tourism site by November. And just for your information, the tourism site is as big as the whole county government site, so it is a large site to move over, a large project that we will be doing this fall. And then you can see some of the other benchmarks that were outlined for some of the other smaller initiatives and things that we have going on. Compensation, as far as what was requested in the budget, was a 2% salary increase. And you can see the current and proposed. And just a little bit of background for you on wages and salary. We just received this from the Labor Shed study. You can see the benchmarks there for people who are employed in the Labor Shed and unlikely to change employment. You can see where their median wages or salary are. And for people in the Labor Shed who are employed and likely to change, where those benchmarks are for folks that might be looking to change employment. And at the bottom, those unemployed with the lowest median wage they are willing to accept. And that is from the Labor Shed that was done, that is a regional Labor Shed. That's not just Marion County. It's based on where people who were employed in Marion County are coming from. So it's a much broader region, but it's based on where our people are coming from currently. The next salary page on 15 I pulled just a couple of similar occupations or occupations that have some of the things that I do. In those are just for Marion County in the Iowa Workforce Development wage category. Pulled some of those. I have that complete report of all occupations in Marion County that's given to us on an annual basis. And then I did pull the ISAC salary survey information as well, grouping them kind of in different levels. And below is a very old PDI survey. We're hoping to do that again this year. It was supposed to be done in 2020, but because of COVID was pushed off. So we'll have new numbers next year for where we kind of fall. As you can see, population served, we're kind of in the middle there. Most of PDI's membership, over half of it, or just about half of it, are organized as economic developers for a county. And you can kind of see those two kind of broad budget line items where our budget falls with comparison to other economic development organizations in Iowa. And then on the last sheet, you'll see I have 25 years of experience, so it puts us far over to the right in that, and where the salary currently falls within the salary comparisons of other economic development organizations statewide.
Good. Carla, thank you. I may have asked you this question. I mean, in the 8 years we've been working together, or is it 9 now?
been 25 for me, so.
25. And fortunately, you haven't had me for all the 25. That was, how should we measure success of an economic development director? So here's the genesis of my question. When I look at some of our other positions, we look at their budget, we look at the output of the department, whether that's maintenance, whether that's public health, whether that's what Jake does. But we look at the actual output, okay? And there's something there that's generally measurable.
Mm-hmm.
So what, from an economic development perspective, this is just, if you can comment, how should we measure, when you can give me salary data and comparisons of salary and that type of thing, how should we measure success?
I have a perspective, and I'll let Mr. Vollmer share his perspective as well, because he works with multiple economic development organizations. That's why I put the benchmarks I did, because a lot of what we do is not like as simple as something that you can concrete see. We don't do things that you can necessarily concrete see, like build a road or have a campground or whatever. We don't do those kinds of things.
Right.
So we can't be measured on more easy things to quantify. And that's where I say what we do in planning, if we follow through with the planning and if there's results from the planning, those are the things that we need to be judged upon. For instance, we just heard, we were in Pleasantville for our last meeting, talking to them about their housing development there that was a direct result of our housing study. Tony would not have gone to Pleasantville, because he's from Pella, and did a subdivision had he not read the plan. That subdivision is almost nearly full. Those are things that happen. I'm hesitant to always take credit for those. It's just like when politicians like to take credit for creating jobs, because I don't believe politicians create jobs, businesses do.
Absolutely.
So part of what we're doing is trying to create and cultivate an environment that businesses can succeed. So when I see our synchronous reports and us tackling the issues that businesses are struggling with, those are success stories when they have those 30 different assets in a community, and we see some of those enhance and get stronger, such as our community college, where that's gone over the years, and us working with DMAC and having a more direct link with our companies. That's a success story. Is it something you quantify as easy as a campground visitation? No.
Yeah, we don't do a lot of sexy work. But first of all, thanks for the support of the commission. Thanks for allowing us to do what we do quietly behind the scenes, and I believe that's true. So just to give you my perspective, not to tote my horn, but I sit on the BEST committee. That's the Black Energy, Mid-Am, the economic development groups for the RECs, Iowa Growth Group, and Alliant. We oversee all the economic development people that go out and do the synchronous calls, okay? And I also sit on 7 different economic development boards in southern Iowa. So I get to see what a lot of other people are doing in economic development. Carla is always our shining star of who we send people to learn of how to do synchronous, how to do the reports, and how to get the information out. Because of the things that this commission has done with the housing study, with the child care study, we are now, there's a lot of communities coming out of COVID wondering what to do, where I think our county's coming out of COVID and has an extra step up and energy that we've never seen before. We're talking to retail groups we've never talked to before. We see housing that's taking place that we've never seen before. Just ourselves, I put together for our economic development team at Alliant, was we get hit by 99 counties, probably 3 economic development groups in each county. We're in 87 counties, so we have people standing out asking for money for economic development groups for support of those all the time. So we put a matrix together. What are you doing in synchronous? What are you doing in housing? What kind of projects have started in the areas? Lois, how are you doing with that? Do you have tourism? What are you doing with that? Placemaking, what are you doing with that? There's 13 different categories. You can rank up to 10. It's also on our revenue and our return of investment. It's 130 points. Carla's almost at 100. But she's only a gas community for a county, so it's hard for us to get her to the 130 or she'd be there. So she, in that area, when we put a matrix together of how we value that partnership, she's there. and I think Jake can attest to this, I've been coming to supervisors meeting for a long time, asking to finally make Carla's position what I think right. To use Windstream's example, you're getting a gig of service for an old dial-up cost. You know, it's just the output that she gets in the years of experience, and it shouldn't be held against her that she doesn't want to move or take another job anywhere. She could easily do that, easily be hired in the market, and more than double what she's making right here. But I just think somewhere along the lines, we've got to take that money that we're paying her and put that close to what we're doing. Because you wouldn't be able to hire somebody in a new position that knows nothing for what you're probably paying her right now in economic development. So I'm rambling, I'm sorry.
No, that's all right.
I have a passion for this economic development work, so I don't apologize for that, but that's kind of the way I see what we have here in the jewel, in the Marion County Development Commission that was created 35 years ago, probably.
I've been here 25. It existed for about 5 years before,
Okay.
so about 30.
So, and I've been a part of it since then. So to see what they've done quietly in tourism and working and getting things done, it's quite amazing when you compare that throughout the state of what others are doing.
Oh, I appreciate it, David. Thank you. Thank you very much. Still coming back to my question, though. Because even with and David, I have a passion for economic development. We've had a lot of conversations. I mean, one of the things this board, and to Steve and Keisha's credit as well, has been very proactive on economic development issues. Prairie Ridge, the Lely, the VA. I mean, those are massive projects that I don't think a board of supervisors has undertaken in Marion County in 25 years. Okay, so we get, and some of that is driven off of the workforce housing study. Okay, so there was a definite linkage between some of that work and some of the actions that this board took to say we need to do some of these things to advance the economy of Marion County. But I still come back to my basic question, and that is, it's one thing to say you can go out in the private sector. I work in the private sector, so to say that to me is like saying we'll go to the private sector. I think that's a great idea. I mean, and I don't want to be facetious, but for government jobs, taxpayer-supported jobs, which these are, how can we justify more, especially some of these salary types of increases, when I think the measurement, David, and you work in the private sector, so you know this. How do we measure success? How do we measure, is it, you know, if you look at it at a national level or a state level, how would you measure economic success? If you were Larry Kudlow during the Trump and whoever the current administration has as their group, they would talk about increase in GDP. They would talk about increase in job growth. They would talk about those types of metrics, not, and I don't know if we have those for Marion County. We struggle with new employers coming here. Maybe some of it's infrastructure. How do we adequately measure economic development success in Marion County beyond just saying, well, we're building workforce housing in Pella, we're building workforce housing in Knoxville, but that's because our taxpayers are willing to foot the bill to the tune of approximately 15 million. It'll be actually less than that, but that's a sizable investment. But that's coming from our taxpayers, right? They're the ones pushing economic development, from my perspective. So that's what I need help with.
It's a harder matrix to put together. So because of the quiet work that Marion County Development Commission does on the synchronous calls, the 45 calls they make a year, collecting that data of what's important to our.
What's a synchronous call?
Synchronous
you said
call.
that 3 times and I'm going, this sounds like.
Carla, go ahead. You're the ace at it. You've been doing it longer than anybody.
Synchronous was created by Blaine Canada. It is a process that we go through to meet with existing prime industry. So we're not meeting with mom and pop kind of companies. These are the prime industries that are driving the economy. We meet with them annually, and we have a complete company background information on just the company. The second part of it is each year then we sit down with them for 45 minutes to an hour through a series of questions and surveys that we discuss. And that data is then put into a system called Synchronous. And what the system does is it has different algorithms that allow us to understand different things about the company. It'll take several questions and the responses to those and give us some ideas of where they're headed for growth, where they're headed for the risk as far as shutdown, what their value is to the community. And so we get different matrices to understand where those companies are. And it also then allows us, depending on where they fall in which quadrant, to understand what types of economic development tools might help them with their growth process. Exactly why we created the economic gardening program, which gets at stage 2 companies, which actually in Marion County employ about 30 to 40% of our people are in stage 2 companies. Many people think everybody's employed by the big people. No. It's stage 2. It's not the very small, it's those middle. And so by investing in them and providing them the type of intelligence that a larger company has on staff to grow for those business, not how to build a better production line, but actually the strategic business decisions that that company needs to make to get to grow. That's what economic gardening provides. I'm excited because we will have some real data once we get through that program and once those companies will start to see that. So like I said, many of the things that we're doing, we're on the cusp of being able to have some more different matrix or data to provide as far as the results of what we're doing. But right now we're doing the difficult first part of it, which is we've got to, just like with the broadband, we've got to do the study first to be able to have the data to go get the money, to go get the providers and enhance service. I mean, so it's the thing with economic development is it's not an annual kind of thing. It's a long-term vision. I mean, many of the things that we do are not done in a year kind of stuff.
Well, I mean, it's really both.
Yeah.
It's both and. I mean,
Yeah.
economic development is a broad topic, and there are both near-term and long-term aspects to it. So in that matrix, Carla, or David, either one of you can answer this question for me. A lot of that sounds to me like, and I don't mean this to be negative, but it's piecework, right? You're looking at specific industries, you're helping gather data on specific industries or tourism or those things. The broader policy issues drive economic development. Taxes. Biggest driver to economic development is tax policy. Are we ever going to get involved in those things? I mean, for years, there are several studies out there that show the states that have adopted state income taxes, which was a phenomenon of the 60s and early 70s, their economies have declined. And that's why so many states back in the 80s, starting in the 80s, the 90s, the not have been, and more recently, some states have gone away from that because they realized their economies were put into decline by instituting a state income tax. Why don't we get involved in stuff like that, or do we get involved in stuff like that, Carla? Because I'll speak a little selfishly as a supervisor. We have lobbying groups at the state level that blame us for taxes, that say we're impeding business because of property tax and what goes on with property taxes. And it's a lie. It's disinformation at the state level, blaming boards of supervisors, school districts, and cities, rural cities, whose only means to raise revenue is through property tax dollars. The only way we pay you is through property tax dollars. But what I don't hear in that economic development discussion is that picture. Because tax policy matters, and our state in particular is focused on the wrong stuff. And that's because we're wedded to old habits. It's because we're unwilling to reduce the state budget. It's because our folks at the legislature, frankly, I don't think they understand taxes anymore. Okay? But that piece there, you know, we talked about this before, and when I think about it from a board of supervisors standpoint, why would anybody want to run for these jobs? If we're just going to get beat upside the head every time the Federal Reserve lowers interest rates to an absurdly low level, banks start throwing cash out to anybody with a heartbeat to buy a house for 30% more than it's worth. And then everybody wonders why the property taxes go up. That's a state formula problem. And the response back to us is, from our state representatives, well, you could just lower your levy rates. So every year, we could sit here with Jake and raise our levy rates, lower our levy rates, so there would be no predictability to anything as far as county taxation, which is the only means that we have to pay for any of this. Tyler, Jake, you. So David or Carla, you guys can speak to this. You're hearing my frustration.
I hear your frustration, but I don't know that it's something that we, in the whole thing, put in economic development. Our job is to know what businesses are thinking, what their frustrations are, and publicize those frustrations about what's going on. And then bring it to people like yourself to work on. And I don't know that Marion County Development Commission or any Economic Development Commission is taking on taxation unless I'm missing something.
Well, one of the things that we did do last year, kind of in a response, is that we did join ABI, who does have a group, a committee working on that. And that's, those are, ABI is mostly business, it's a business organization, it's not an economic development organization.
I know who they are.
And so being involved in both those organizations and PDI, we're part of a group. We have not set this as our number one priority to change policy, partly because I didn't know where our role was when the county hires a lobbyist. Do we still do the type of lobbying that we were doing in advocacy, or is that the lobby? I mean, some companies, then that would become the lobbyist's role, not my role to set two sets of information. And so part of that maybe is just a clarity on, as department heads, what are your expectations for us to do advocacy versus our lobbyists to do advocacy?
Well, I can clarify that for you pretty easily, at least from my perspective, and that is with you and your commission, which has people that work in the private sector on that commission. You should be actively involved. And I don't care whether it all flows to our lobbyists, which Kelly did a wonderful job for us this year. We had better eyes and ears on the ground of what was actually going on at the State House than we've ever had. I've been on this board 8 years. We never get updates from our state reps. We never hear from them. They represent the people of Marion County, but they never come back and tell us what the hell's going on. Sorry. This stuff it makes me mad. Because you look at what's going on in this county, our major development projects, we're doing it. They're not doing it. The feds aren't doing it. We're doing it. We've had to take on the major projects. These little $200,000 things or $300,000 projects or this or that, whatever. The major projects that are being done to promote economic development are being done by this board in conjunction with Mike Nardini in the city of Pella, in conjunction with Brian Hatch in the city of Knoxville. That doesn't come from the state. It doesn't come from anybody. It came from us, working on it. So I guess I'm going to say it this way. At the local level, there needs to be an education process as to what really our economic priorities are and how are we going to advance them, especially against Des Moines, because Des Moines is our problem. We're not going to go to DC and change what they're going to do in DC. Heck, Congress can't even change anything, and they're already there. But it's Des Moines. They won't do the things and take the aggressive action necessary to help a county like Marion County be more successful. And you say you work with other rural counties. You know it's worse the farther south you go.
Well, that's what I'm trying to get through over and over again. And I hear your frustration, but at the same time, what I'm trying to get through is because of what you're taking on, because of the housing projects, because of the retail development we're seeing in Marion County right now. It happens because we've done the non-sexy stuff behind the scenes. We know what the businesses are asking for. We know that they want housing studies. We know that now we're going to work with them on that second level. There are 85 other counties that wish we had the problems we had in Marion County.
What is that second level?
That's the one she just talked about, where we're going to talk about those that employ the lower numbers.
Okay, I have a question. on this new initiatives, Carla,
Mm-hmm.
We've gathered the data, or we're starting to gather we've got in that data gathering stage.
Mhm.
You said the next stage was the implementation stage.
Mhm.
What is that gonna look like in this targeted industry
Attraction
attraction?
study.
What is the implementation going to look like?
Right now, we are in kind of the middle of that. They have done their analysis and provided us some targeted industries. We've reviewed those, and now they're going to work to the next part of it, which is for those targeted industries. They're going to work with us to determine two things. One, what assets might need to be developed to be more attractive to that industry or that subsector. And two, the marketing strategy to go after how we go after and recruit that sector. So then that goes into kind of a twofold process of, is there things from a site standpoint or community standpoint that we need to do, whether that's broadband or some of these other things that'll make it more attractive to those targeted industries. And then also the strategy behind, one, how do we go after them? And when we get leads, how do we respond in a better fashion? And so we're getting training on that of how to respond to leads and how to do the marketing to.
Are we going, these targeted industries, when we identify them,
Mhm.
are we physically going to go after them, or do we wait for them to call us?
No, you start to go to.
See, I agree we need to have this data, but you know me, I'm a hands-on guy.
Right, because that'll then tell us then, what subsectors, because there's bigger sectors, so you might say, I don't know, pick a sector, and then there's subsectors. And so we're drilling down into those subsectors, and it'll allow us to come up with companies and be able to do some of the things through our partnerships, both with both of our regions that also go to trade shows, they go to different things that we'll be able to access and be
We're gonna aggressively recruit them.
in those small subsectors. Yeah.
That's the implementation stage.
That's the implementation stage once we get through right, like I said, right now we've kind of interim identified those targets, but we're moving towards then how do we transition that into a strategy to get them here. And so that's where we're at right now. So we haven't gotten to the end part of that yet.
Okay.
I've got just a couple things. Carla, you always do a fantastic job when it comes to presentations. I appreciate that. I think you're seeing us as a board the last 3 years that, I've been on here. We're not your typical board. We are focused on the economic development of that. And sometimes in these positions, and I think Mark was, speaking on this, it's like the taxes. You're not popular. It's not a popular subject to talk about. It's not easy to talk about, but it is something we do have to continue to focus on for our economic development. If we do not have lower taxes here, especially corporate taxes, we're going to be in trouble. I think that viewing and how we look at data collecting, there is a place for that, but then it's implementing it. And I think that we sometimes focus more on the data collecting versus implementing. And I think we all have things that we're really good at. I would say you're really good at data collecting, and I appreciate that. Now I think as a board, and myself, in particular, it's implementing. So I was thinking about this, and I was thinking about how do we go about growth in the unincorporated areas? Have you looked at ground that's for sale and, seeking, putting those two people together? So is there a business out there that wants to come? And, we're talking about infrastructure, we're talking about the broadband, we get all those things, but we're trying to move in a direction of we're manufacturing heavy. So what other options are there? I think I personally, David, as a commission, that's what I want to see. I want to see us, this is good, but we can't focus about just going around and telling others all the time about the data we collected. Now it's time to implement it. It's time to bring it back. And I think once we see that and we can see the growth, and it is a growth measure, it's a hard, concrete evidence of these are the businesses that I brought in. This is what, the economic development. And I know that some of this is you're wanting more wages, but to me, we need to have some concrete evidence. That's where I'm struggling.
And sometimes that's really hard because we do things that other people go out and implement, just like the housing. We did the housing study, But other people do housing developments. We're not going to do a housing development.
But it's working with those people and saying, hey,
Yes.
this is the area. That's where you come back and you
Right.
say, hey, this is what I have been working on. You know, I have developed this. We're working with this, you know, this land is for sale. And, you know, these people want to build, meaning like a development or a company coming in.
Mhm.
I mean, those to me
And
are
that's-
hard concrete.
And that's part of what like I said, the next stage of that targeted industry is developing the assets, which means sites sometimes is part of that, maybe infrastructure. And that's identifying first the targeted industry so you know what they need. So you're not going out and creating sites or places that don't fit with what your target is. But that's part of the next process, and us being able to better respond to inquiries and to pitch our inquiry is part of that next process of us getting that training so we're better at doing that. So that's part of what we're seeking is the training we need to be better at doing our job. And, you know, as far as
Implementing it,
and
when you guys see that that's going to be implemented, I guess
Mhm.
that's probably where maybe I'm going with this.
And I'm a person who doesn't believe in, you know, part of because we work countywide, I think it's very important to involve partners. And, you know, just like the broadband study, the EDD thing, we've got people from both City of Pleasantville, City of Pella, City of Knoxville, private business, all involved in that SWAT process. So you know, we try to build partnerships. You were a part of the broadband thing. We had all the chambers involved. We all were part of that process of getting people to take that survey. So part of what we're doing is always constantly building partnerships to implement things and get things done. This is a new area for us. David can tell you, when I was first hired, you guys don't know this because you weren't here 20 years ago, I did 0 business development, 0. This commission was created originally for tourism, and that was it. And we've grown into these roles, and we're continuing right now to go into another phase of an area that we haven't necessarily been the aggressor. We have let our communities be the aggressor on business recruitment, and we're taking a more active role. And so part of what that includes to get to the point where you're talking about to implementation is getting the training and the understanding behind us before we go and do that.
Steve?
I don't know, I think to me, sometimes the cart's before the horse. It looks to me like sometimes if we can't get this broadband initiative going or some kind of a tax resolved issues, we're doing awful hard to bring businesses here until we get stuff in place. I don't.
Well, I can tell you when I talk to businesses, their number one issue isn't taxes.
Pardon me?
When I talk to businesses, their number one issue is not
What's their
taxes.
number one issue?
Getting people.
Finding people.
People,
If
people,
our concern
people.
was on taxes, we wouldn't be the 13th county in the United States in manufacturing wages and stuff. They'd be gone. Pelicorp would be gone. Weiler would be gone. Pelicorp would be gone. If they were so frustrated on taxes because every day, I can promise you, Pelicorp gets 8 offers to move to another state with free facilities tomorrow, and the state will take care of them. So I agree. I understand your frustration on the taxes side, but when we visit with businesses,
It's all
that's
about
not what we hear.
But we're not growing as a
So how do
county
we
and
get
we're not
people?
growing as a state.
Well, yeah, nobody is, right? But I will tell you, we've probably got more housing starts this year than we've ever had before.
Is that how we get people here? You think that's the main driver?
We gotta find more housing for people to live here.
Because
yeah.
we've had the challenge before that we were growing jobs and we weren't growing people. And now with housing, that will help us, I believe, to grow the people. Because, you know, we had a period of time over the last, 4 or 5 years that we grew 1,000 new jobs. We did not grow 1,000 new people.
I'm just trying to understand it all for us so that we're all on the same
Yeah.
page, so we're all going the same direction.
Oh, and I understand you want data, and maybe we should do a better job of that on the housing right now that's going on, because we've got more housing developments and housing starts than I've ever seen.
Well, and
before.
we have companies that are expanding that are contacting us
I'm
about
not sure how we
expansion
can afford a
resources.
house anymore.
And
Other
guys,
than low interest rates.
you know, we could debate the data points on, is it people, is it taxes? And of course, local businesses like businesses in Pella are not going to just up and move because they're too embedded into their communities. And I know that they could probably get an offer from some other state and get all the incentives and all the bells and whistles. I get all that. And I get that they're focused on people and you don't hear about taxes. Because very few businesses in Iowa at the corporate level promote tax reduction. It's political as much as it is anything else. There are lots of loopholes in the Iowa tax code for corporations, especially large ones. And so they're not gonna be focused on taxes. Individual taxes, that's what I'm talking about. You want people, it has to be attractive for people to come. They have to be able to keep their money. Had this debate for 20 years. Even within Republican circles, which are normally low tax people, Iowa's different. Everybody talks about paying your fair share. No one yet has told me what that is. What exactly is my fair share? What's your fair share? No one knows. It's just a word we throw out, it's cliche. But there are study after study, data after data. All you gotta do is look at what happened during COVID in places like Florida and Texas. And it isn't weather, it's money. We've had retired deputy sheriffs from other counties come to our board meetings from Western Iowa, people that didn't make a lot of money. One of Supervisor McCombs's friends, he goes to Texas and he got a 9% raise. And he said it in the meeting. He said, I didn't move there for the weather, I moved there for money. So this debate about people or money, the issue is going to be money goes to where it's best treated. That's economics 101. It's tried and true every time. Of course we need people, but we've got to have jobs to bring in the people. And we focus on our existing businesses a lot, but there's also the need to bring in more jobs so we get the people. People are not going to move here. We're just trying to build houses to service what we already have. That's what all these projects have been pitched as. We're just trying to service what we already have. Get more of the people from Pelicorp and Vermeer to move to Marion County instead of living outside. Get more of the people from the hospital to move into Marion County. More of the teachers to move. More of Weiler to move. Well, eventually that's a zero-sum game. You run out of that because you'll only get to a certain percentage and then it stops. What do we do then? We just be satisfied that we filled up 40% of our housing projects, 60% of our housing projects? There's got to be more to it than that. There has to be a longer-term view of how economies grow. And that's related to money and monetary policy. That's what we had to do to get these projects going. We had to think about monetary policy at a local level. Anyway, we could debate this all day long. It's tough, and I've told you this before, what you're doing is tough, because as you can see, this is a passionate issue for a lot of people.
And everybody thinks they know everything about it. That's the other part.
I don't know about that.
Oh, yeah.
There are lots of people that think they know a lot about economics. I think there are some basic principles of economics, though, that are not in dispute.
But when people, but the people saying the word economic development, that's used a lot in things that are not necessarily economic development. There's a lot of.
But that's not what this board's doing.
No, but around the world there is a lot of misconceptions of what economic development is.
The scariest thing facing us right now is there's no people, period, anywhere.
Yeah.
My biggest, all the companies I work with, and I can only deal with big companies right now, they can't find people. So they're gonna have to go to robotics.
So here,
or their biggest concern right now is, I am overworking the staff I've got. When am I gonna lose them? And I can't find anybody to even replace them if I lose them. So that's why you see Pelicorp shutting down for 2 Saturdays in July, just to try not to overwork what they got.
So here's the basic question, please. It's the question I would pose to anybody. Why are people moving to Iowa? Why? If you can answer that question, then you'll have your policy position. But the population of Iowa hasn't grown. It's been between 2.9 to 3.1 million since I graduated from high school.
Well, we're not talking about not sexy. You know, Iowa's not. We don't have any mountains. We don't have any oceans. We have sea of green. But in my half block in Pella, my little half block, I had a couple move from California and Utah in the last year.
Sure.
You know,
how does a state like Ohio rank sixth in the nation for innovation and opportunity? It's not a sexy state either. You've been to Ohio. So that's the question, David. The question is, why aren't people moving here? We're safe, relatively, because of what's going on in the world. Got lots of space, great place to raise a family, a history of good education. Why?
Okay, let me just finish with this, because you're right, we could go on all day about this. But if this commission doesn't have in place what are our needs for housing, what's our sense of place, what's our tourism that makes this unique for people to find, if we don't have those things in place, we don't have a sense of when those people do look at us, that it's an easy decision.
Sure.
So
And
I mean,
I think you have to do that.
Yeah.
I think that's part of what you do. Here's my challenge to you though. Anytime you talk about amenities, anytime you talk about daycare, which is one of the top issues, you're talking about an increase in expenses. Right? It costs more to support amenities. Whether you need skate parks or athletic fields or whatever, the costs always go up. That's what everybody says we need, right? We need daycare, we need this, we need this, we need this, but your costs go up with that. So you're serving a static population with more amenities. Pay for it. That's the issue. It all comes back to money. So.
And it's nice when you can have those amenities be businesses instead of public supported amenities.
Except they're always asking for money. Somebody's in those areas are always asking for a grant. They're always asking for some kind of tax support, broadband. During COVID, we got asked for money to help support expansion. So it always comes back to that.
I mean, we're getting a Smash Park. They're developing a Smash Park in Pella, and the next one they're gonna do is Salt Lake City and then Denver. So how Pella falls in the mix of those cities where they're gonna develop a Smash Park are the things that we need to celebrate.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. It's a great thing. Anyway,
Thank you.
Thank you, David. Thank you.
Okay, appreciate it.
Appreciate it very much. Board, anything else? Steve, Keisha? All right, Carla, thank you. Tough job. I know you budgeted, did she budget for the raise, what she budgeted?
2%.
Didn't we do 3? Yeah. Did we do 3 for?
Yeah,
The recommended was 3.
I think we should do 3.
I just did 2 because that was cost of living. I didn't know where the budget would be based on COVID, so I was trying to be conservative. And, you know, I've been around long enough. I've been there the years we got 0.
Oh, yeah.
And you know, and so.
Not since I've been on this board.
No, but I was, you know, so there was one year where we got 0 increase in our healthcare or our benefits costs went up, and so it was really a negative in the end.
Absolutely.
And so I've been around a long time, so I've been around a long time, so I don't have expectations of, you know, it's just, it is what it is, and.
So I appreciate it, Carla. Thank you, but I think we should.
Thanks very much. We're excited about the new website.
Yes.
Congratulations on that.
All right, very good. Is there a motion to close discussion?
Motion to close discussion.
Second?
McCombs,
Aye.
Ramey,
Aye.
Johnner.
Very good. A spirited discussion on economics. I like it. Did I really say that our legislators? Oh, I'm sure that'll be quoted. And we'll stand by it. All right. Any updates? Mr. McCombs? You wanna make a motion on anything?
No, I'm good.
All right. Very good. Mrs. Johnner?
Yeah, with P&Z last night, David just spoke about the Smash Park. They're also looking by 2024 to add a fast food restaurant by the Smash Park. We had a work session for the Oskaloosa Street corridor, so still things,
Long nose over.
not that I'm aware of, they did state. Things are moving rather, you know, a lot of development, a lot of action happening.
Good. Excellent. All right. Well, I've got a mental health meeting today. We'll see what the impacts of the new law are that the state passed. So I'm sure that will be a major topic that Rachel will update us on today. And then, so that could have implications that flow from that as to how this is structured, how it's financed, what does that look like? And then we'll have some bond discussions at our next meeting.
Oh, the next 3.
Yeah, we'll have a series of them, but we'll get that process started to close the financing loop on the VA. Speaking of workforce housing developments. So we'll start that. I've talked with Michael, and I know Jake and Michael have been talking on that one. And then we'll try to wrap up the 28E discussions with Knoxville by the first week in June. Okay? So, moving forward. I think that's all I have. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Johnner?
Aye.
Gomes?
Aye.
Ramey?
Aye. Thank you very much.
All right?